Welcome to Asia Outlook. I'm Melody and I'm here to report the top stories from around Asia. The World Health Organization has officially named the new corona disease COVID-19. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus explained that the name was an amalgam of the words corona, virus, and disease. He stressed that it did not refer to a geographical location, an individual, or a group of people. Meanwhile, the WHO says scientists are running tests on various animals, but have so far not identified the intermediate host responsible for the new virus.
Some scientists have done some phylogenetic studies and they have identified that this virus is very similar to a virus that is a coronavirus that can be found in bats.
But a virus can have more powerful consequences than any terrorist action. And that's true. And if the world doesn't want to wake up and consider this enemy virus as public enemy number one, I don't think we will learn from our lessons.
President Xi has traveled around the Chinese capital of Beijing to inspect areas that are combating the coronavirus. Let's take a look.
This is a local community in Beijing's Chaoyang district. Chinese President Xi Jinping visited the area to inspect its disease control measures from households to public areas. He praised the community's efforts. Xi called it the front line for disease control and urged for similar efforts from communities nationwide. He also visited the Beijing Ditan Hospital, a designated facility for treating patients with the novel coronavirus pneumonia. In a video chat with medical staff, he encouraged them to make every effort to save lives and at the same time make sure to protect themselves.
We should fight with full confidence in this war against the coronavirus. It is a people's war. We must build up confidence and we will win.
He then learned about treatment of infected patients and made video calls to hospitals in Wuhan receiving patients with severe conditions, heard reports from the Central Guiding Team in Hubei Province and the provincial headquarters on the prevention and control of the epidemic, and extended regards to medical workers on the front line.
The World Health Organization has officially named the new coronavirus disease as COVID-19. The WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom explains the name is a combination of the word corona, virus, and disease. He also said the first vaccine could be ready in 18 months. The WHO said scientists are running tests on various animals but have not identified the intermediate host responsible for the new virus. The WHO also said China's response to the crisis give the rest of the world some breathing space, but the time is of the essence.
If you see the number of cases in China and the rest of the world, it's not even comparable. And the opportunity was created because of the serious measures that China is taking in Wuhan and the other affected provinces. That is slowing the spread of the virus to the rest of the world. But I don't think this status can stay the same for long. That's why we have to use the current window of opportunity to hit hard and stand in unison to fight this virus in every corner.
In the wake of the worst mass shooting in Thailand's history, seeing 29 dead, Thais were quick to blame the country's army chief, who accepted responsibility. The February mass shooting was the work of a disgruntled soldier. In an emotional press conference, General Apirat Kongswampong took the blame. He said the military needed to take very good care of their soldiers, particularly those in the lower ranks. Let's take a listen.
No one in this world wishes this kind of incident to happen in their country. No Thais would want to see the repeat of this situation. Do not criticize the army. Do not criticize the soldiers. If you want to criticize someone, if you want to blame someone, you can criticize General Apirat Kongsompong.
The mass shooting over the weekend was the work of a disgruntled soldier. In an emotional press conference, General Apirat Kongsompong took the blame. He said that the military needed to take very good care of its soldiers, particularly those in the lower ranks. The gunman's first victims were two superior officers and one of them's 63-year-old mother-in-law. The incident has drawn criticism for the ease with which the attacker gathered weapons, as well as for the length of time that it took armed forces to end the disturbance.
Hundreds of thousands of Iranians took to the streets on Tuesday to commemorate the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Crowds were heard chanting "Death to America" as they burned and trampled U.S. flags. Relations between Tehran and Washington have been strained since the U.S. withdrew from Iran's nuclear deal in May of 2018. Tensions culminated when the U.S. launched a drone strike that killed top Revolutionary General Qasem Soleimani in January. The anniversary comes nearly 10 days before parliamentary elections, which are expected to gauge the popularity of Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. It took 92 years for a non-English language film to take home the top prize at the Academy Awards. The dark satire from South Korea turns the spotlight on the divide between the rich and the poor, and Parasite took center stage on Hollywood's biggest night.
Another exciting night at the 92nd Academy Awards in Hollywood. South Korean film Parasite stole the spotlight, taking home the Oscar for Best Film, Best Foreign Film, Best Director, and the Best Original Screenplay categories. Director Bong Joon-ho gave a humbling speech mentioning his competitors Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino were his idols from film school.
When I was young and studying cinema, there was a saying that I carved deep into my heart, which is the most personal is the most creative.
그 말은 that quote was from our great Martin Scorsese. So.
Joaquin Phoenix received the Best Actor award for his role in Joker after having collected several trophies from other ceremonies.
Renee Zellweger.
And it was no surprise for Renee Zellweger to seize the Best Actress award for her role in Judy, as she was a top favorite among movie critics. While Best Actress in a Supporting Role goes to Laura Dern for her superb performance in Marriage Story.
Being an actor?
And Brad Pitt received the first Oscar of his acting career with his role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Taika Waititi claimed the adopted screenplay honor for Jojo Rabbit. Meanwhile, Toy Story 4 nabbed the animated feature prize. The Academy was heavily criticized once again this year for lack of diversity. None of the directors nominated for an Oscar included a woman, and also only one actor of color was in the entire slate of actors nominated for an Oscar. But in a sense, it was inclusive in that one foreign production, namely the South Korean film Parasite, swept so many Oscars on top highlight categories, including the Best Film, the Best Foreign Film, as well as the Best Director award, certainly making it a big headline. It is Tian Shan, CGTN, Hollywood.
This is Asia Outlet broadcasting from Myanmar International Radio. You can visit our website at miradio.com.mm. You can also listen to our radio programs live on the website. Hundreds of people joined a vigil in Nakhon Ratchasima in northeast Thailand last week for the victims of the mass shooting at a local shopping center.
ใจชาวโคราชเลยนะครับเนี่ยจากเมื่อคืนนี้นะครับก็วันนี้ก็ยังมาช่วยพวกเราอำนวยความสะดวกอีกนะครับถ้าแทรกมาอย่างนี้ครับต้องปรารถนาที่จะให้ทุกชีวิตนั้นได้มี
The crisis in Wuhan has touched the hearts of people across China, with all regions offering support in different ways. In addition to the dozens of medical teams arriving there, as well as the tons of medical supplies, there are also donations such as dam jackets, electric blankets, hygiene rubber shoes, and other daily necessities. Many of the ordinary people in Wuhan are working hard to ensure that these deliveries get to where they are needed the most. Chinese President Xi Jinping visited a community in Beijing to learn about community-based prevention and control. President Xi pointed out that community-based prevention and control is the foundation of the next phase of the battle against the novel coronavirus pneumonia.
在接下来我们的疫情战斗中啊，社区管理防控，这是一个基础。所以我今天为什么要来看？如果这方面搞得井井有条，那我们这一次啊，早日夺取胜利啊，我们是有把握的。社区很重要，继续我们再有呢，在这里向你们，向北京市的社区工作者，也向全国的社区工作者致以崇高的敬意，也表示衷心的感谢。
The U.S. military says more than 100 U.S. troops have sustained mild traumatic brain injuries after Iran launched missiles at a military base in Iraq in early January. So far, 109 U.S. service members have been diagnosed, an increase of 45 since the previous report. Of them, 76 returned to duty. Iran fired ballistic missiles at the Baghdad base in retaliation for U.S. drone strike of Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, in early January. The Philippines said it will terminate the 1999 Visiting Forces Agreement with the United States. President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered his cabinet to send notice of termination to the U.S. government. The agreement provided a legal framework for the entry of U.S. troops to the Philippines for joint training exercises with Filipino forces. The announcement comes after the U.S. canceled a tourist visa issued to the Philippines' former national police chief. Duterte has also threatened to shrink or even sever ties with the U.S. Despite cancellations from exhibitors on the backdrop of the novel coronavirus, Asia's biggest aviation event, the Singapore Air Show, took off on Tuesday. Attendees like Airbus, Dassault, Embraer, and Singapore's RSAF displayed some of their headline aircraft, giving visitors an opportunity to get up close and personal to these flying machines. Here are the highlights of the static aircraft display and exhibition area at the Air Show 2020.
Singapore Air Show 2020.
This is Asia Outlook broadcasting from Myanmar International Radio. On FM, make sure you catch us on 96.1 FM in Yangon, 96.5 in Mandalay, and 96.7 in Naypyidaw. You can also download MI Radio app on both iOS and Android devices for your own convenience. China has expressed gratitude to Canada and BRIC countries for their support and assistance in the fight against the epidemic. The Foreign Ministry commended these statements by the Canadian Health Minister on the outbreak as a sign of science-based and rational judgment. Patty Hajdu has said that the evidence did not justify declaring a national health emergency or restricting the movement of foreign nationals into the country. The ministry also thanked the BRIC ministers' states for their support and said they will continue to work with them and the international community to protect regional and global health security. The ministry emphasized that countries need to respect the professional advice by the World Health Organization, and overreactions would only make things worse. The International Atomic Energy Agency says it is engaging Iran in discussions over the nuclear deal. Speaking at a news conference in Vienna on Monday, the agency's Director General Rafael Grossi said they were clarifying issues with Tehran over the agreement. Grossi is expected to meet with the head of Iran's nuclear program for the first time this week. He said that to stop working with Iran was off the table and implementing a joint comprehensive plan of action is, quote-unquote, a two-way street. The nuclear deal forged in 2015 is now in danger of falling apart after the U.S. walked out of the deal and escalated tensions with Iran. A man from India who has been living in China for quite some time expressed his view on the COVID-19 outbreak. Let's take a listen.
Hi, this is Akhil Parashar. I am an Indian and I have been living in China for the last 9 years. At present, China is going through a tough time and I am still staying in Beijing. I know that the whole nation is confronted with a deadly threat, but it's safe here and I believe Chinese government is taking all possible measures to eradicate coronavirus from the country. They are striving to battle against novel coronavirus. Meanwhile, China has taken various measures to combat novel coronavirus. China has also constructed 2 hospitals, Huoshanshan and Leishanshan, that are saving the lives of thousands of people with coronavirus. You know what? Rome was not built in a day, but the Huoshanshan Hospital, the latest of China's efforts in the battle against coronavirus, was built in 10 days. China's actions against the coronavirus are being strongly praised in the West by medical professionals led by the World Health Organization, which has serious medical knowledge. But Western media figures who know nothing serious about medical issues at all are attacking China. This shows the illogical and completely irresponsible behavior in large parts of Western people. I must say, if you ever live in or know China better, you would be surprised what the Chinese government has done. The deadly coronavirus outbreak in China has fueled an upsurge in anti-Asian discrimination, hate speech, and even violence elsewhere in the world, much of it reaching a global audience on social media. When the H1N1 epidemic broke out in the United States in 2009, nobody called it an American virus. But when a new type of coronavirus, pneumonia, broke out in China today, it's being called as China virus. I didn't remember people calling Zika the Brazil virus or Ebola the Congo virus. Yes, it is originated from China, but please show some respect. We should stop calling coronavirus outbreak as Chinese pneumonia or China virus. I believe discrimination and humiliation will not alleviate the epidemic situation. Countless people will go retrograde after this battle. We should not discriminate, but we should be united as one. We need to act to help China to tackle and contain the virus. It is not a time for blaming and accusation, no discrimination, no double standards. A nation with 1.4 billion is an important part of the world community. Please stop the discrimination against China. Isolate the virus, not isolate love, and work together to overcome difficulties. They are Chinese, they are not virus. Come on Wuhan, come on China.
Australian officials are hopeful that the torrential downpours across the eastern coast will help put out bushfires in the state of New South Wales by the end of the week. Several parts of Australia has been battling hundreds of wildfires since September. The recent rainfall is said to be the heaviest in New South Wales in years. Although it has helped extinguish fires, the 4-day downpour has also caused widespread flooding, leaving nearly 60,000 households without electricity. A 4-month-old baby infected with the novel coronavirus was discharged from the hospital on Tuesday after recovering in South China's Hainan province. What an absolute relief. Let's take a look. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has announced a series of measures to deal with the novel coronavirus. Abe made the announcement as health officials said another 44 people on a cruise ship quarantined near Tokyo has tested positive for the virus. Terence Terashima has more.
This actually brings about a debate whether the quarantine in the ship is actually strict enough or adequate to contain the virus from spreading. On Wednesday, they also announced that one quarantine officer be positive with the coronavirus. So there have been a lot of criticism to the Japanese government that in fact this quarantine in the ship is actually working or not. They will prioritize elderly members and those with chronic illness to be tested as they're more vulnerable, and they can be taken off the ship and their chronic illness to be treated in medical hospital. Those found positive would be quarantined in the medical facility. The 14-day quarantine is due to end on the 19th of February. The question is that with the rapid rise in the number of people found positive with the coronavirus, the question is whether all the remaining passengers and crews to be tested or not. The government said they are considering it, but they have not committed as yet. And one of the reasons is that there's not enough medical facilities that can conduct the tests, as well as if and when they found people positive, they're still looking for medical facilities. And also some debate in the government is that because it will take longer than a week to test everyone, whether they have the right to have the passengers remain on the ship indefinitely until the test.
Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova expressed in Chinese her country's support and blessing to China and its people during a press conference on Wednesday BJT. Let's take a listen.
亲爱的朋友们，我们愿望中国和中国人民众志成城，抗击疫情。在这个艰难的时刻，俄罗斯与中国同在。 俄罗斯对中国人民表示诚挚的支持，并祝愿中国人民取得最终的胜利。
Since the full-fledged workday started from Monday, people have their own interesting ways of preparations on their ways to work.
太多了。
自己这么大爱是遇见你，多少次疯狂。
Pakistan's Senate passed a resolution to express solidarity with China over its fight against the novel coronavirus outbreak. Let's take a look. Followers of an upstart Indian political party danced in the streets on Tuesday after inflicting a crushing defeat on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's right-wing party in a key election in the capital. The poll was the first electoral test for Modi's BJP party after it passed a controversial nationality law, which opponents say is anti-Muslim. AA party supporters covered it to Bhangra music and set off fireworks as the vote count showed they had crossed the 36 seats needed to secure a majority in the 70-seat regional assembly. Police on Tuesday, citing provisional autopsy results, said 39 Vietnamese migrants found in the back of a truck in Britain last year died of lack of oxygen and overheating. The victims were found dead in a refrigeration trailer in the county of Essex, east of London, on the 23rd of October of last year after having been transported by ferry from Belgium. The remains of those who have died have returned to their families in Vietnam. And that's all we have for today's Asia Outlook on MI Radio. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back next week. Until next time.